Hi, I'm Chef Tony Matassa with BBQGuys.com. Today we're going to take a very close look at some of the most important things to consider when trying to decide which gas grill is right for you. Now the odds are you're going to have this grill for a really long time, so it's important to look into these things. Let's get started. One of the first things I like to find out is how much grill they want, size-wise. At first, people generally try to answer this question thinking of how much food do they cook. So they only need 2 burners because it's just a husband and wife and that's all they're ever cooking for is them and 1 or 2 kids, no big deal. But you also should try to keep in mind that the more burners you have, the more versatility in cooking you're allowed. And by that I mean, if you have a nice wide grill, even if you're only cooking for a couple people, if you want to cook indirectly, possibly smoke on your gas grill, you'll need more space for that. So also keep those kind of things in mind when looking at the number of main burners in a grill. When trying to help people decide how much grilling real estate they needed, it was sort of tough. We could give you square inches or the actual dimensions, but that's kind of hard to really put into your mind how much space that is. So we decided to go with 4-inch round hamburgers, since everybody kind of knows what that is and what it looks like, and lay those out on the grids. And that's how we come about our burger count, to really give you a real-world feel of how large a certain grill is. Let's have a look at the different cooking grid types that you will find with gas grills. We'll begin with stainless steel grids. Stainless steel grids come in a variety of options, thicker and thinner. You have cast stainless steel. Sometimes they use tubular stainless steel. But the main thing to remember is that stainless steel will probably give you the most longevity and also the most resistance to corrosion and rust. The main thing to keep in mind is the more or the heavier that section of grid is, the more heat it will retain, which will provide a better sear. Next you have porcelain coated steel grids. These are probably the least desirable to have on a gas grill. They show up looking great, but from heating and cooling the grids, they're more prone to chip, and anywhere that you have a chip, it's just plain cold steel underneath there, and so it's going to be prone to rust once it chips. Another grid type that you see sometimes on gas grills is a porcelainized cast iron. It's a little bit different. The porcelain doesn't necessarily sit on the surface of the grids. It's more within the pores, so this lasts a whole lot longer. It's still eventually, you could have some rust through here and there, but it's generally years after the fact, giving it more longevity than a standard porcelainized steel. Let's have a look at the flame taming or flame distribution system within a gas grill. Sometimes these are called flavorizer plates or bars. They call them different things, but basically they sit between the burner's flame and the grid. It helps to protect the burner from direct droppings of fat, debris, that kind of thing. It also helps prevent flare-ups from that sometimes. And the other major thing that it does is catches the flame's heat and helps to more evenly distribute that heat. It also provides for better flavor enhancement, since the drippings that you have from your marinades and your meat will fall onto the flame tamers and either be carbonized or vaporized back up into the food, helping to either marinate it or give it some smoky flavor, just like charcoal used to do. The 2 main types that you'll most often see in gas grills is some form of metal flame tamer and some sort of flame tamer that incorporates ceramics. The main types you'll see with metal flame tamers are either a perforated sheet, sort of like this one in different varieties, and or a TP or a tent, sort of like this one, again with different sizes, but roughly these are the 2 main types you'll see. The difference between these 2 is that the perforated ones usually cover more of the area, which will protect your burners a little bit better and are a little bit better at being more even with heat distribution and protecting from flare-up. Whereas you can see the tent or TP is going to have some empty spaces in between the burners, leaving it with, so that it's going to be a little bit more uneven than say a perforated sheet. With ceramic type flame taming, the main types that you will find is some sort of a rod, as you see here in my left hand, or some sort of a briquette like I have here in the right hand. The main thing to keep in mind, the issue that you will have versus steel is when you're cooking at high temperatures, if you need to come down to low temperatures to make, say, a dessert after searing a steak, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer to get the temperature to come down because the ceramics are going to hold a lot of that heat. And although this may sound like a negative, it's also sort of a positive since it holds heat very well, will distribute it pretty well, and should help on the searing end of things with the grill. To decide which burner configuration is right for you, first we'll look at which types of burners you could configure. Generally what you'll see is a conventional style burner, something like this, and an infrared style burner, something like this, generally ceramics, maybe protected with metal like this one is. Now, to know the difference between the two, basically the way I try to explain it is a conventional style gas burner will produce heat that's more diffuse, sort of like a flashlight, whereas the heat that comes from an infrared is more direct, more like a laser beam. That's why these are generally used in steakhouses for the intense sear that they can produce at extremely high temperatures. With a premium style grill, there's enough heat generally produced that if you are not really concerned with having that intense, full crust sear on everything that you cook all the time, then a fully conventional burner style grill will be perfectly fine for you. If you enjoy having that crust style intense sear on all of the items you cook, on large batches of food, then they also make full infrared style grills that you can also get. The last thing is for people that want something in between. They may want to sear a couple steaks and finish them off over conventional burners, or sear steaks sometimes and then do hamburgers the other times, or at the same time even. Then you can do hybrid grills, which a lot of companies offer, where you have several conventional burners in the same grill with 1 or 2 infrared burners. The last thing you'll want to keep in mind with consideration to burner configuration is whether or not the grill you're looking at has a rear infrared burner. Now, the only reason this matters is if you at some point plan to have a rotisserie kit, even if you don't have one when you purchase the grill, but you may want to add one, you can't add the rear infrared burners that come with some models of grills. So if you will want to have one of those, you need to make sure it has it when you purchase the grill. Most of the gas grills you look at will have analog thermometers, but I think it's interesting to note that some companies offer models that come with digital thermometers as well. Thank you for watching. I hope this video has helped to clear up some of your questions. If you have any further questions or need any more detail, please contact one of our knowledgeable customer service representatives today or check us out online. I'm Chef Tony Matassa, and remember, at BBQGuys.com, we smoke the competition.